got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay, cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency, a message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with. Now they looking nervously, and I don't really care what you think of me, respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy, hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe, I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet next to me. I don't give a fuck what you say, yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say, yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
I shot my wife in the stomach with 38.
Why did you do this?
She enticed me and she ridiculed me throughout my lifetime. I'll see if she's alive. She's alive? She's dead. I think she's dead.
Sensational.
Hello. Is that coming through? Does that work, Sandy? Because I have no idea what's going on here. Ah, she says, ah, Sandy says, say again, say again. Am I coming through? Louder, louder. Right, I've just had to... Okay, is that working better? I've just had to switch microphones. Am I still very faint? I can't go any louder. It's the maximum that there is. It's clear. It's clear. Is that better? I've gone up to 200%. I've changed the microphone. It's now my headphone microphone. Boom. We can go. We can go. That was a good start, wasn't it? So we're starting at nearly 5 minutes in. I've no idea what's happened there. Yeah, if anyone else shows up, they can crank up their own volume. Thank you very much, Sandy. Thanks for letting me know. I was getting an echo through from my Blue Yeti. I'm wondering, I went out for a motorbike ride earlier on, and instead of actually shutting down my computer, I just put it to hibernate. Then I've opened it all up again a few hours later, and suddenly nothing's working properly. So it might just be that I really needed to shut down everything in order to let it all start up properly again, instead of using hibernate, which has killed a load of stuff. All right. Well, I'll start again. Hello, everybody. It is 6 p.m. on the 11th of August here in the Great British Isles. And we are talking not the 6 o'clock news. And my assertion, my opinion, that Tier Keir, Keir Starmer, our resident Prime Minister, must be arrested and investigated on charges of the precise laws that he is now pushing, which are essentially incitement to hatred and incitement to violence. Violence particularly against the British state itself. You'll note the burning flag that I had previously. Should I present it again? Let me see. This flag, the burning British flag. I'm not calling for flags to be burnt. I am not attempting to incite anybody to burn flags or to cause particular problems. I am making a statement of my opinion that Britain itself is under attack from within. And it is burning metaphorically around us right now. The flag itself is pertinent in and of itself, and that will become clear as we go through. So I'm going to go into some statements that have been made by our great Prime Minister, our democratically elected fascist Prime Minister. Opinion. It is my opinion. I think he is a hater of British people. He is particularly guilty of class hatred. But I am calling for him to be investigated under his incitement to speech, hate speech laws, both or all in person, in the mainstream media and online via his own gov.uk website. And I'm wondering whether he should also be investigated for treason, conspiracy to treason, or other crimes against the sovereignty of Great Britain, and for inciting others to commit such treasonous or other acts. Now, I've no idea whether treason is the right thing. I know that treason is generally to do with trying to kill or have incorrect relations with members of the monarchy. But it's also able to be determined wider than that, and we'll go into that later on. So let's have a look at what Keir Starmer, Tier Keir, has been saying, shall we? Which one's this? Yeah, here we go. So this is the gov.uk website. This is the Prime Minister's office. page 10 Downing Street of the gov.uk website, and this is the latest news, and there have been 4 statements by the Prime Minister. I've heard one man's treason is another man's freedom movement. Think that might be true? It may well be, it may not be. I'm looking at this from just using the laws that Tier Keir has brought in himself to use against the great British public. And he is not applying it justly, nor as one law for all. So this is this on the screen is the gov.uk website. Our erstwhile Prime Minister, Tier Keir, has had 4 statements come out. One was on the 3rd of August on the riots / protests, on the 4th of August on the same, on the 6th of August on a meeting that he had with the Sultan of Oman, and there isn't a date on the immediate action after Southport attack. So let's have a look at these. And the first one we'll look at is the 3rd of August statement. The PM had a call with senior ministers on the 3rd of August. He convened them, including the Deputy PM and the Home Secretary, to discuss the incidents of public disorder and unrest in recent days. Now, this statement is actually quite a good statement. It's quite targeted, it's quite clear, it's quite understandable. They're there to discuss the incidents of public disorder and unrest. The police have our full support to take action against extremists on our streets. Extremists is a particular word, who are attacking police officers, disrupting local businesses, and attempting to sow hate by intimidating communities. Okay, it's sort of quite targeted. The concept of disrupting local businesses, you could turn around and say, any protest that is happening that means local businesses need to shut down or close their doors, that is disrupting local business. So that's a bit vague and a bit wide, and I think it should have been labelled a bit better about stealing from or smashing the bloody windows of these places. Now, I am absolutely in line with the police taking action against those who attack the police or attack others, disrupt local businesses, and attempt to sow hate. But it also has to be one law for all. And in this regard, if police officers attack people who are peacefully protesting for little reason, then there's a problem. But the stuff that I did see in Rotherham, I have to say, the police, I thought the police did absolutely brilliantly. There weren't that many of them there. They were faced by a massive mob, some of whom were very, very intent on causing harm, major harm, to persons and property. And I had every respect for what those police did on that day. And I was very happy with the way that they dealt with it. And in fact, I think they should have dealt with it a little bit stronger. The Home Secretary updated. She said, there are consequences, arrests and prosecutions for those responsible. The Justice Secretary added, offenders who have committed violence over the last few days have been remanded in custody and the whole justice system is ready to deliver convictions. Okay. As long as they have committed violence, and as long as these outbreaks of disorder are on the basis that the people that have been arrested actually did do something, as opposed to were just there. And this is where it starts to get murky later on. The Deputy Prime Minister said, we need to ensure members of the community who have been targeted by thuggish extremists have the support they need. Absolutely right. Extremists, thuggish extremists, as opposed to peaceful protesters. Innocent until proven guilty, but the law has to be both clear and targeted enough to be able to say, yes, those acts are extremism that have to be dealt with. They are illegal. The Prime Minister ended by saying the right to freedom of expression and the violent disorder we have seen are two very different things. Yes, but there were a lot of people there that were using their right to freedom of expression without being violent across many protests. Many. There is no excuse for violence of any kind. Okay, that was actually, overall, that wasn't a bad statement, the first statement that came out. That was the 3rd of August. Okay. On the 6th of August, now that I am actually looking at the particular page, the immediate action after the Southport attacks came out on the 6th of August. The Prime Minister has taken immediate action following the far-right thuggery we have seen take place. Okay, so the 3rd of August, it was, we will go after the particular extremists that did the thuggery, did whatever thuggery. Now the Prime Minister's position is that the whole thing was far-right thuggery. This is where he brought out his statement, far-right. How does he know the political inclinations of these people? In what way does he know that they are far-right, as opposed to they are just people who are concerned about particular things happening in the country to them that they are peacefully protesting about, but they are now being labelled far-right, and all of them are being classed as thugs. He has promised that those taking part in this disorder. Now that's vague as well. Taking part could mean you were just there. Disorder is anything. Disorder covers anything that somebody doesn't like where somebody else is inconvenienced, which includes peaceful protest. Peaceful protest produces disorder. What do they mean by that word, disorder? It seems to have been extended. This has been extended to, if you were there, you are a far-right thug and we are coming after you. And this is where it goes full tilt, fascist, and very, very problematic. He promised those taking part in this disorder, whether it be directly or online, will face the full force of the law. Face the full force. I say that 10 times really fast. There's already been hundreds of arrests, including for online offences. We will not tolerate attacks on mosques or our Muslim communities. Good, absolutely right. We won't tolerate it. We won't tolerate the reverse either, presumably. The full force of the law will be visited on all those who are identified as having taken part in these activities. What about the opposite activities? What about the stuff that happened in Birmingham, in the particular communities of the Muslims, the particular Muslim communities in Birmingham, where there was no protest marches around immigration or around anything else, but all of these people came out and just started attacking individual white people. If you went through there in a car and you were white, your car was set upon and they tried to pull people out of the cars and kick the hell out of them. There was a bunch of people in masks that turned up and started saying stuff to a female Sky News reporter that was rather intimidatory. And then they were caught on camera trying to slash the tyres of the Sky News van. I haven't seen that there's anything been done there. There were also plenty of videos of these people wandering around with machetes. The Prime Minister has announced the immediate creation of a programme to stop criminals intent on causing violence and unrest on our streets. Stop criminals. Who are the criminals? Are people who arrange peaceful protests that might end up having a few nutters in it that cause unpeace, that cause problems, that undertake thuggery? Are the people who arrange the protests responsible for the actions of a small minority or of a bunch of kids who are always, teenage kids, always up for wanton violence because they can get away with it? So it all starts getting really interesting. He also announced a package of support for Southport, which is at the very bottom of this whole thing, whereas the title was Our Immediate Action After the Southport Attacks. I would have thought the support for Southport should have been right at the top of this. So quickly, let's move on. What did the Prime Minister say? Oh no, this was the 4th of August now. So that one was the 6th of August. I got them the wrong way round. So this is one day after the original statement. This is what the Prime Minister actually said, and he said it on TV. I utterly condemn the far-right thuggery we have seen this weekend. So within one day, he has clearly had his backside spanked for not using the right insightful hate speech language that needed to be put in place. He needed to use the term far-right thuggery because he hadn't used it on the 3rd of August, and suddenly it came out on the 4th. I do wonder who it was that told him to start using this, because this is where the problem is. Those who have participated in this violence will face the full force of the law. Fine, no problem. If you participated in violence, you face the full force of the law. That is our law. I guarantee you will regret taking part in this disorder. Okay. Well, taking part is rather different from participated in violence. Very much different. That is just being there. Disorder is very much different from violence. This is not protest, it is organised violent thuggery. I would actually argue that he just made that up. That is fake news. And fake news needs to be called out, and people who push fake news must be dealt with by the full force of the law, which is exactly what he has come out with yesterday and today. Fake news is going to be fought through lawfare. I want Keir Starmer, Tier Keir, to justify objectively that A, this was organised. The only thing that was organised was, here's a date, here's a time, here's a place, we're going to have a protest. That's the only thing that was organised. Nobody, as far as I know, organised anything more than that. It was just a bunch of individuals that came together, and whatever happened, happened. There was no organisation, and that was part of the problem. These people are not organised. They are individuals. They get whipped up by groupthink. They get whipped up by emotions and what is actually happening at the time. What's happening at the time? You will note there was nobody there with loudspeakers. No one at all. There's nobody there with lots of music. There's nobody there with a loud hailer giving out the chants for everybody to start singing. There was no leader. It was completely disorganized. It is this type of rhetoric from our Prime Minister that is actually completely fake news. There was violent thuggery. It was not by everybody. It was also, to these people's views, in some ways instigated by the police. And in some places it was. In other places, like Rotherham, I don't think it was. I think the police were exceptionally reticent to attempt to even go in. It was only when the crap really hit the fan did the police actually go in. And I thought they did brilliantly, despite the fact some of them got really badly hurt. There should have been many, many more arrests there. They should have had hundreds of police dogs and should have just let the bloody things go. Because that was violent thuggery. It wasn't everybody though. Now, because I'm a violent thug myself, I'd be quite happy with the police dogs being sent off on to whoever was there, because they were all pushing forward and they were all baiting the police as if the police was their enemy. They were there at a hotel as if the people in the hotel were their enemy. Their enemy is not that. They are aiming at the wrong thing. Their enemy is the political classes. It is the middle classes. It is the upper classes. This is a class war. All right-minded people should be condemning this sort of violence. Absolutely. What about far right-minded people? Or right-minded by far people? Or what about left-minded people? Or anything? None of this makes sense. He's just using words with equivocation here. I am right-minded because I'm far right. What does that mean? What does right-minded mean? You fucking muppet. So no, I won't shy away from calling this what it is, far-right thuggery. No, it was violence. How do you know these people are far-right? You have no idea. That's fake news. You should be taken up and investigated and arrested because of your fake news that you spread online to Tier Keir. This violent mob do not represent our country. No, they don't. But at the time, they were representing some of the disquiet, the mass feeling of social injustice that these working class people actually have. You will bring them to justice. I'm sure you will, Tier. I'm sure you will. Okay. So who has actually had a go at Tier Keir? Well, one of them is the complete asshole himself, Boris Johnson. He has launched a scathing attack on Keir Starmer over immigration. I wouldn't have expected anything else from Boris Johnson, Bojo, the complete knobhead. But he actually, for once in a while, he says something useful. Former Prime Minister accuses current leader of being deaf to public concerns about immigration. Boris Johnson was disgraced over breaking lockdown rules during the pandemic and misleading Parliament. So the Independent, instead of focusing on what he actually said, decides to denigrate him just like I did. I've got no problem with that. Boris Johnson's an asshole himself. But he has launched a scathing attack against Prime Minister Tier over his handling of the far-right riots. Here we go. Tier Keir has brought in the terminology far-right. Now all of the mainstream media is copying it. They are all saying the same thing. These are far-right riots. Anybody that was there is far-right. We'll get into that. And his approach to immigration. The former Prime Minister who was accused Sir Keir and his government of being deaf to public concerns about immigration. That's enough of that shit from The Independent, because it is a load of shit. They are a load of shit, and they annoy the hell out of me. Right, I just need to get this video to the right place because I have been exceptionally unprofessional. Let's go with that there. Right, let's get back to being semi-professional, that I certainly am not. Okay, this is from GB News. They're having a discussion. GB News having a discussion with Ben Habib from the Reform Party and with somebody from the left.
I should introduce you first then. I just assume people know who you are. I'm joined now by my panel, the former editor of Labour List, Peter Edwards, and the former deputy leader of the Reform Party, Ben Habib, who I was just about to talk to. Now, Ben, I have to ask you this comment because we saw there the Palestinian flags flown by the trade unionists. You've got the new sort of epilepsy-inducing pride flag that's been waved.
That's what struck me.
They're saying, one of our viewers, True Brit, says, look, Darren, I'm banging on about this until I'm blue in the face, because actually this is all Stonewall's diversity, equity and inclusion, and actually it's that whole agenda that they're putting through universities.
This isn't the most interesting part of this discussion, I've got to say.
You sort of, is that the
I completely agree. I completely agree. This isn't about the far right versus sane people who are counter-protesting. The so-called anti-racist marches are actually infused with prejudice as the way that you've just described it. And as you know from past conversations.
Which is exactly what I've been saying. It is okay to have prejudice if it is against your opponents. This is political lawfare.
We've had, in my view, diversity, equity and inclusion is an incredibly prejudiced, divisive, government regulatory, expensive, damaging to the economy. But what it does is give protected status to ethnic minorities and affords them the ability to come out and do what they're doing on the streets and have some kind of cloak of protection against the criminal justice system in the way that they behave. And that's why there's also a feeling of two-tier policing, because of this protective cloak that they have. But the one thing I want to draw viewers' attention to in North...
Now, just to highlight, Ben Habib, as the ex-deputy of the Reform Party. He's the ex-deputy because he didn't actually get elected into Parliament, and there were 5 Reform MPs elected into Parliament. So they chose that the deputy leader of the Reform Party had to be one of the MPs. So he lost his role as the deputy. And he was a bit butthurt about it, but he should have realised that this is what was going to happen. But Ben Habib is a British Pakistani, and he is talking about immigration.
Northern Ireland. It's a most remarkable thing that the anti-immigration protests have managed to do what 40 years of government policy has failed to do, which is bring together people flying Union Jacks and the tricolour of the Republic of Ireland on the same side. They recognise that it is actually an assault on the island of Ireland that's taking place at the moment with mass immigration and illegal migration.
Has anybody noticed any Union flags at any of the counter protests? I haven't.
I thought Dougie gave a really good exposition of what was going on.
And that indicates that these people are not in any way, shape or form patriotic. They don't actually like Britain. They don't like England. They do not want the Union flag. They do not want the St. George Cross flag. They may not want the Scottish saltire. They may not want the Red Dragon from Wales. There are some serious issues to consider around who is it that claims they represent Britain in these so-called counter-protests. Because I think these are treasonous protests.
I would disagree with Dougie on one thing. This isn't just about illegal migrants. This is about migration, full stop. Yeah. And the people who join together to protest are not far right. They are typically the overlooked white working class from deprived areas of Belfast and across the United Kingdom.
The deprived white working class, which is what I've been saying for quite a while. In the screen, you will notice that there are a bunch of flags of a foreign nation being flown, but there are no flags of our nation being flown.
And they are typically Labour voters. They're not far right.
Now, that is what the working class communities are. They are typically, traditionally, left-wing, traditionally Labour voters. Now, there's no absolute clarity on who within those groups was left-wing and who wasn't left-wing. Nobody's asked anybody what their actual political position is. But Keir Starmer, Tier Keir, has labelled all of them far right. The Labour Party has turned its back on the traditional left. They have turned their back on the traditional people that the Labour Party was set up to represent, the workers. Listen to more of this. This is fascinating.
Right.
And on that point, Ben Habib, I've got to bring in Peter Edwards. Now, because one of our viewers, Peter, called Gary, has written in, and Gary says, "Hi, Darren, please can you try to stop those that are pro-unlimited or pro-mass migration calling people with the opposite view racists and Nazis? It's inaccurate, insulting and insane." That's where we're at with the public discourse at the minute, is it not?
Well, I want to come back. I've heard quite a right-leaning stream of consciousness from Dougie and then views from both of you that I do disagree with quite strongly. I don't understand why Ben takes a view, and Ben and I will disagree on most things, but I don't understand why he takes a view that the Stonewall flag, i.e. in support of gay community or the wider LGBTQ plus community, is, he used the phrase, infused with prejudice. I don't understand that at all. And then coming on to the people who are now in jail...
Can I explain that?
And now coming on to people in jail, to say that they are Labour voters is an absolute nonsense. One can speculate. I think we can all agree they're violent and morons if they're in jail for assaulting mosques or assaulting people. We can agree they're violent.
But do you agree that they're not?
Why are we saying they're Labour voters? There's no evidence of that at all.
But there's more evidence for that, given that they come from deprived working class areas across the country, than there is to classify them as far right.
They're at least in Labour constituencies, right? We know that, at least most of them.
Well, so someone who we've said, I'm looking at Times, it could be any newspaper, a guy who's in jail, possibly for assault on police. None of us have met him. We don't know what street he lives on. We don't know how he votes. But Ben's saying with confidence he's a Labour voter.
No, I didn't say that. No, that's not what I said.
Listen to this very carefully. Listen to how the Labour guy is gaslighting and straw-manning the arguments that have been made. I'll let Ben Habib explain it.
What I'm saying is that you're absolutely right that we won't know what their political disposition is, and therefore we cannot classify them as far right. It is extremely divisive and playing dirty politics by the Prime Minister to categorise all those who have a legitimate protest against immigration as far right. He does it in order to rubbish their position. That's what the Prime Minister is doing. And you're rightly saying, Peter, that we don't know what their political ideology is. But what I'm saying is that I agree with you. But if we were to hazard a guess at what their political leaning is, it's probably Labour, because they come from white, working-class backgrounds across the UK, the deprived areas that have been repeatedly promised that they would be levelled up, and what they've seen is immigrants in masses coming into their communities, being put ahead of them on social housing, education, NHS, getting cash in their pockets. All of this is an offence to the white working-class man. And just last point, Labour Party has turned its back on its constituency, which is the working class of this country. The Labour Party is infused with some kind of ideological nonsense that it's inherited from the DEI agenda.
All right.
I think that's a rant.
It may well have been a rant, but it was full of some absolute humdingers of truth, actually. We don't know what political leanings these people had. The fact Tier Keir has been able to say they were all far right, which leads to all of his supporters on these counter-protests calling everybody fascist scum, Nazi scum, is exactly what the problem is. Keir Starmer has spread fake news that must be dealt with, and dealt with quickly under the very same laws that Keir Starmer is demanding are used against anybody else that promotes this type of fake bullshit that incites others to treat people like shit. I would like to say, MathPig, the ones protesting in Belfast have been shown to be DUP and loyalists. They are not Labour voters. I don't know what's been going on in Belfast. I don't know that everybody there was DUP or loyalists. Loyalists and DUP, as far as I know, they're both unionist aspects, whereas there were a lot of people with the tricolour there, suggesting that they were Irish. And we know that Ireland is full of people who are complaining about mass immigration. I really don't know what you're talking about, MathPig, when you say this. I don't know how you know that they have been shown to be DUP and loyalists. I don't have a clue. I'm unable to say that the people who were at these things are X or Y. But just as Ben Habib surmised, because of the areas, and I'm particularly looking at the northern areas in England, which is where I'm from, and I know these people, having been brought up in these areas, I know what they're like. I know that they are traditional left, traditional Labour. And I also know that some of these traditional left and traditional Labour are exceptionally racist. Not many, not all, but some. I also know that they're not very well educated because there hasn't been the inputting of help into these areas to advance them. And there has been no infrastructure there. They have had their industry taken away since 1981 when Margaret Thatcher got rid of the steel industry and the coal mining industry and all of the other industries. These people have had nowhere to go. They have been stuck in their ghost towns with very little to offer, not a lot of purpose. A few people have been able to get out. They've been able to get an education and do something with their lives, but a lot of them are just stuck there because they're poor. They can't actually get out. And this is the point. You can't just call them far right, which is exactly what Keir Starmer has done. And this has led to these massive counter-protests where I am going to show exactly what happens to anybody that appears British and patriotic. But let's continue with this. I know that you're lambasting GB News, but this is the one where you've actually got somebody from both sides discussing the issue. This is the reason why I'm showing this. These are the arguments that are on both sides, and they're actually good arguments. The guy from the left, I think, is getting very emotional with some of his arguments. He's not coming out with good arguments. He is just trying to make Ben Habib look silly by using condescending and nasty language, instead of actually having objective views. Ben Habib is going, yes, I completely agree with you. We don't know that these people, what the political leanings of these people are. We are in exactly the same position. The guy from the left is completely disagreeing on that, but he's saying the same thing.
And there's too much for me to respond to there. I don't want to just sit here grumbling. I want to make a meaningful contribution, but Ben didn't offer evidence for what he's saying. We know that in poorer areas, turnout is lower, full stop. So lots of the people Ben believes are left-wing may not vote at all.
I didn't say that. I didn't say I believe they're left-wing.
See, he's straw-manning him again. He can't get away from this idea of, I want him to have said this thing so that I can lambast him, so that I can jump on him for having said something that he didn't say. We know this. We've been in this community for long enough to understand these tactics, these ways of arguing, these ways of debate, and we're able to call it out. This person just wants to keep using it. Ben Habib is using objective understanding. I've never heard the guy before. This is the first time I've actually heard him. And this left guy, who I don't know, he is using demeaning, reputational damage, straw manning terminology and language. It's emotional language, which will work for some people. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but that's because he is going for the lowest common denominator of people who don't have a background in understanding this type of discussion.
And you've had an awful lot of time to rant away.
Yeah, but you miscategorise what I say, Peter.
Tough luck, it's a debate show. So.
Tough luck instead of HO. I don't know what instead of HO means. You've been miscategorising me. Tough luck. Oh, okay. Look at Ben Habib's face. He's looking at him going, where did these people come from? How do these people have a platform? And I have exactly the same problem. How do these thick, idiotic, emotionally based idiots have a platform? They are not objective. They don't look at the evidence, what evidence there is. They don't look at the truth. They just want to win. And it's sick.
I think we all agree the violence is wrong. I would say, you know, there's lots of individuals in the paper today.
We agree. The violence is wrong. There was violence, there was thuggery, and I want all the people who are categorically guilty of such violence, especially at Rotherham, where I saw that and I was absolutely sickened by it. I want the full force of the law to be brought down on them. I don't have a problem with that. But around this is all this fake news that is being spread by people like this guy on the screen and by the Prime Minister, Tier Keir, where they have zero objective evidence, but they are able to claim everybody that is protesting against immigration, unfettered immigration, against the boats, saying there's too many people in our country. He is saying they're all far right. And that is being used to call people Nazi scum and fascist scum, which is interesting in itself because fascism is actually left-wing. It is the extreme end of left-wing. That's what you get when you have a Stalinist empire, a Pol Pot empire, a Mao empire, and an Austrian guy with a funny mustache empire. They all come from Marxism, and they all come from the left. Authoritarianism is what occurs. That's exactly what's happening under Tier Keir.
If someone's convicted and admitted racially or religiously aggravated harassment, there's no evidence at all to suggest that person from the left. I'd imagine if they behave like that, they're probably not voting at all. And then to come to that...
And he just made something else up again. It's not about who voted for whom, it is what kind of political ideology they have. Ben Habiba said, we don't know what their ideology is. It is likely that their ideology is based on socialism and the traditional left, the Labour Party. But this guy can't have that, and he must stick with his narrative. He has been given one narrative, and that's all he's going to allow to come out.
How the Labour government's doing. You know, Labour, like the last government, will be judged on its record in office, and that'll be on house building, the NHS inflation, all the things that we vote on and care about. But when Labour's been in government for a month, to say, and they've pledged to build more houses, to say immediately that Labour have turned their back on the working class after 5 weeks, I mean, to put it politely, that's a bit daft.
Well, I think it's been going on a lot longer than that, though, Peter, with respect. I think you can go all the way back to Gillian Duffy, you can go all the way back to Tony Blair, and the working class started to move away from the Labour Party. I mean, that's not pure speculation, there is actual evidence.
Just note here, this is Keir Starmer, and in front of him, he has a Union flag. There's a Union flag on the lectern from which he is speaking. Just note that for the future, please.
Well, Labour lost elections, and you need to win working class votes and middle class votes. That's just a fact. But, and you know, I stress Labour will be judged, and it will be judged harshly on its record over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. But to say after 5 weeks, when Labour won and the other parties lost, it's turned back, is just without...
Right, I'm bored of this. So let's have a look at what's actually happening on the ground in Britain, particularly to do with patriotism and the Union flag. Let's share this screen. So this is from YouGov from 2018. A quarter of Britons look down on those who fly English flags. Look down on. Middle-class people and Labour/Lib Dem voters in 2018, at the end of 2018, are more likely to disapprove of flag flying. Okay, yet they love the flags of other countries, and they love their new multicoloured flags, so they clearly approve of flag flying. They disapprove of patriotic flag flying. They disapprove of saying, I am proud to come from Britain, or come from England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales. In 2014, Emily Thornberry, a Labour MP, was forced to resign from the shadow cabinet after tweeting a photo of a house in Rochester flying England flags, after many interpreted her tweet as derogatory and dismissive. She maintained the tweet wasn't meant to be insulting, but that's exactly what it was meant to be, insulting. I remember those times. The people who fly flags are just racists. And yet, anybody from any other country is very proud to fly the flag of their original country. Even if they fled that country to come here as a refugee or as an asylum seeker, they are very, very proud of their heritage. Why is it wrong that Brits should be proud of their heritage? What is going on? Close to a quarter of Brits, 24%, say they take an unfavourable view of the patriotism of flying the England flag from your home. Around 1 in 5 Britons have an unfavourable opinion of people who fly national flags. 24% unfavourable for the English flag, 21% unfavourable for Scottish, 19% for the Welsh flag, and 20% unfavourable for the Union flag. The disdain is not reserved solely for the St George's Cross, which is the England flag. A hardcore of Brits seem to disapprove of flag flying in general. More than a third of this group, 13% of all Brits, disapprove of the flying of any of the 4 flags. This is the important bit. Middle-class people and Labour/Lib Dem voters are particularly disapproving of flag flyers. They are anti-patriotism. They are anti-Britain. They are anti-England, anti-Scotland. They do not want nation if it's British. They are happy to promote other nations. This is treasonous, in my opinion. That's a bit of a snowflake opinion, but it's mine. My snowflake opinion. So what is it said here? Class. This is from 2018. Class is a key distinction. Middle-class people, those in the ABC1 social category, are more likely to disapprove of someone flying a flag than working-class people. Working-class people who are proud of their heritage. 1/3 of middle-class people, 37%, that's much more than a third actually. Over 1/3 of middle-class people, 37%, disapprove of at least one of the flags listed being flown, compared to 23% of working class. The biggest difference comes over the English flag. 30% of middle-class people judge someone negatively for flying it. This is where these shouts of fascism and Nazism and scum come from these counter-protesters, from these liberal, progressive, soft middle-class wokies and Labour Lib Dem voters. They're all middle class. Go and watch any of these videos. All of the people there are middle class, or they are actually socialist worker. They are very Marxist, very communist. Blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of people hate the flag. Okay. Let's actually have a look at that in action. This is DJE Media down in Crawley. I think this was yesterday. And I just want you to look at the very right of the screen. Just as we start, let's put the sound up on this. In the background, you see there's a big crowd of counter-protesters. These are all the middle class Labour Lib Dem voters. We hate all you far-right thugs. Anybody that is patriotic in any way, shape or form is a far-right thug. This gets very interesting. Just coming into your picture, there is a single man coming over to an empty part of this car park, well away from the crowd, and he has the Union flag wrapped round him. He has a shirt on which is full of Union flags. He is basically saying, I'm patriotic. Screw you lot. Watch what happens. Sorry, Sandy. Have I just... I'm very unprofessional. I apologise. Okay, because my mic is low and you've all had to increase the volume, I will put the volume on the video to halfway. I am unbelievably unprofessional. Okay, I've put the volume down. Okay, let's go. This is a single guy on his own, completely on his own, confronting the whole crowd. Wait until you hear what he's saying.
Say it loud, say it clear!
What is the guy shouting? The guy is singing Rule Britannia. Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves. This is a very oft used patriotic song of the British. This is a traditional song of Britain, Britannia. This is something used by the monarchy.
Say it loud, say it clear! Fascist scum!
Fascist scum. Anybody with the Union flag is fascist scum. Take that in. This is treasonous behavior by these counter-protesters that Tier Keir has whipped up with his claim that everybody that is not on their side is a far-right thug. If you are patriotic, if you wear a flag, if you show allegiance to Britain or England in any way, you are fascist scum. Understand that. These are British people saying that patriotic British people are fascist scum. Despite the fact fascism is far left, what they actually mean is it's far right. They are trying to claim fascism is far right. It's not, but we'll go with it because that is what they are trying to throw out.
Fascist scum! Fascist scum!
Off our streets. Do not even be in society. You're not allowed to have a different point of view to them.
Fascist scum! Say it loud, say it clear! Refugees are welcome here! Say it loud, say it clear! Refugees are welcome here!
And all the police are moving in on this guy. One single guy on his own, very brave, just facing up to this whole mob.
Fascist scum! Fascist scum! Fascist scum! Fascist scum! Say it loud, say it clear! Refugees are welcome here! Say it loud, say it clear! Refugees are...
And look at them creeping forward.
Say it loud! Refugees are welcome here! Fascist scum! Fascist scum!
Singing Rule Britannia and flying the British flag means you are fascist scum. Get this into your head, what this means. You cannot be British in Britain.
Fascist scum! Fascist scum! Say it loud, say it clear!
Okay, I think we've seen enough of that particular aspect of it, but I now want to move on a little bit. So here he is. He's still in the same place. He is still singing patriotic songs. He is still wearing his clothes, and he is merely facing them out.
Fascist scum! Fascist scum! Okay, so there's a little chant they were doing in Brighton the other day. So it's, if you don't need coke to protest, go up your hands!
So what's happening now? The police are coming along to this one single person. Instead of keeping the counter-protesters over on their area, because there was one person, the whole crowd has come over at him, threatening him, harassing him, making him feel, I would have thought, exceptionally unsafe. And now the police are moving him.
Don't need coke to vote to clap your hands. If you don't need coke to protest, don't need coke to protest, don't need coke to vote to clap your hands. Fascist scum! Fascist scum! Fascist scum!
So he's moving back.
Loud, say it clear.
Did you know?
Oh, I love adverts. And Temu, such a fantastic shop.
Fascist scum! Don't boil it!
So they've moved him back. They keep creeping further forward at him. Notice the guy with the boombox. The police had moved this guy away from the exact spot, so he started moving his stuff further forward, towards the guy, towards him. Now at least there's a policeman there that is saying, no, you get back. Okay, I think we've seen quite a bit of that. There's further stuff here. This guy continues. He continues to just stand there. He's hardly saying anything. He sings his songs. They all come at him as a complete mob. If this isn't a sort of Stasi type mob rule aspect, now they've all come right up to him. Now they're calling him Nazi scum. Nazi scum. Because he has a Union flag and he sings patriotic songs. He is fascist and he's Nazi. Understand that. If you are patriotic, that's what these people think of you. If you like Britain and you are British, that's what these people think of you. I think that's enough of seeing that. We can see exactly what's happening. The police have allowed this mob to completely engulf the guy. They have had to move back because they did not police this whole thing in exactly the same way that has been done for the other protests. They didn't have the right police there. They don't have riot gear on. They are not prepared to deal with this type of mob that will attack one individual. Right, that was from DJE Media. I'm going to show another one from him. This one's very, very quick. This was Newcastle. I think it was yesterday or the day before. I think it was yesterday. Okay, so there's a big counter-protest going on, a big left-wing progressive liberal protest going on outside a pub called the Lowther. These two gentlemen who have got England t-shirts on have come out of the pub that they're drinking in to have a cigarette. Racist and EDL scum, merely because they've come out of a pub to have a cigarette, they are white, they look a certain way, and they are wearing t-shirts with the Union flag on it on the very same day that Newcastle United are playing a game of football at the stadium just up the road. They are merely people dressed how they wish, not causing any trouble. They haven't said anything to anybody. They've come out for a cigarette.
Off our streets! Racist scum! Off our streets! Racist scum! Off our streets! Racist scum!
Racist, fascist scum. This is how you will be treated in my country. This has been produced by Tier Keir. This is what he has done. He has incited hate. And I want him to face the full force of the law on the basis of the laws he has demanded are brought in around online hate incitement. These are just two people in the pub wanting to go out for a cigarette, and they get essentially jumped on.
Off our streets! Serious scum! Off our streets! Serious scum! Off our streets! Food streets! Our streets! Food streets! Our streets! Food streets! Our streets! Food streets! Our streets! Say it loud! Say it!
Nearly 30 years in the making.
Yeah, money, money, money. We all like money. Okay, so that's just how you look. How you look, what you wear, you will be termed racist, fascist, Nazi, scum. These people weren't doing anything. They were in the pub. They came out for a cigarette. Because of what they look like, because of their skin colour, because of their hair or lack of it, because of what they were wearing, they are termed racist, fascist, Nazi, scum by the mob. What actually happened there afterwards is the police asked them to go back into the pub, and then the police went into the pub. I don't know what happened in the pub. I haven't got a clue. But this really does look like two-tier policing. The police should have been stopping this mob from being able to do that. Let's have a look at some KC Imageworks. It's the same sort of stuff. This was in Liverpool. I think this was yesterday or the day before. So you will see, let me just take that back just a touch. You'll see there's a number. I mean, it's not massive, it's not that big. It's right outside the Liver building in Liverpool. You'll note there are no Union flags at all. You'll note there aren't any flags, but they come up later. People have got them hidden away, and it does come up later. We probably won't see that, but just wait as the camera pans round. So the crowd have finally seen somebody standing there merely with a Union flag, not saying anything, not shouting anything, just standing there waving a Union flag. Nazi scum off our streets. Now we see the Palestinian flags coming out. So certain flags are allowed, but you can't be patriotic. I'm just showing this. I don't need to show any more of that. But what I would like to say, on the basis of these statements, I would suggest Nazi scum, fascist scum, racist scum, Nazi bastard, scum, racist, fascist, scum. If you're going to play this game, if you're going to be principled and apply it to everybody, you have to say Nazi fascist scum, patriotic fascist emblems, racist fascist. I would never say this about these people. These people representing our country in the flag, wearing, proud to be wearing, proud to be showing our union flag. Oh, Tier Keir, fascist scum, Nazi scum. What's the difference? Any promotion of the flag to these people means fascist, racist, Nazi scum. Do you see where I'm coming from about this concept that this is treasonous? These people should be absolutely, completely having the full force of Tier Keir's law applied against them. But I think it should go further. I think this is treasonous. This is a class war, a hate war against the working class of Britain, mainly Northern Britain. What aren't you seeing? Can't you see what's on the screen? I thought I was actually sharing exactly what was on the screen because I was looking at what's supposed to be being shared, but maybe StreamYard won't actually show it. Maybe this is our government actually throttling stuff from being streamed. Because we know that the police.uk website, which a lot of people across the world use to see and find out what is going on in Britain, that has been turned off for the rest of the world. People in America cannot go to the police.uk, or is it police.gov.uk? I don't know. I don't go to that website. But I know that other streamers use it regularly, the ones who try to deliver news, and it says that it's blocked. You're not allowed to find out. You're not allowed to see it unless you use a VPN. So I don't know what I was trying to show that you didn't see. But I'm hoping that you can see Tier Keir here stood in front, proudly in front of two Union flags, which means he is a racist, Nazi, fascist scum, according to his own supporters. And the implication of that, I mean, it's all been whipped up by this very person when he labelled everybody who is protesting about immigration as far-right thugs. And he has now targeted them with the Starmer brown shirts, the 2 Tier Keir brown shirts. Anybody wearing this type of regalia, flying this type of flag, is far-right, fascist, racist scum. All whipped up by our very own Prime Minister. Racial hatred, class hatred, anti-British hatred, anti-patriotism hatred. It's open and clear. And it all came from this guy himself and his bunch of goons in office. My view, my opinion, my snowflake opinion is that this is treason. It's insurrection. They're the acts through which some charges should be brought. Whether that'd hold up from a legal standpoint, I haven't got a clue. I'm not a bloody lawyer. These are just my words that I'm spouting out. Merely my opinions. But the end game of these sentiments is the end of the monarchy, because we know that these middle class, liberal, progressive assholes and the elites in the Labour and Lib Dem parties want to see the end of the monarchy. If they have their way, it will be the end of the monarchy. And that's why this is treason. It's why it's insurrection. They want the end of British life. They want the end of our monarchy. And we voted them in democratically. We invited the wolf in to let them devour the children, to give them free rein over this country so that they could implement their Stasi tactics. They could implement their communist, and I mean that as in Soviet communist, Stalinist ideas. Be careful what you wish for. Let's have a... Now, I'm not going to show Wes Streeting's tweets. Wes Streeting is one of our secretaries of state now. No, I am going to show it. I am going to bloody show it. These are his tweets from X. From the past, of course. MB Sheffield, I will break your legs. It's fine, I'm just loading up the carbine rifle and checking my list. I'll swap it for throwing you under a train, causing delays and then complaining about the delays. There would be nothing natural about Jan Moyer's death if I shoved the bigoted old bag under a train. Considering starting my own vigilante organisation to push nasty people under trains. First up, Jan Moyer, followed by Geert Wilders. I've got a lot of time for Gordon Brown, but I want to punch him for scheduling the by-election during my annual leave. My 1 week of leave. Okay. This guy, Wes Streeting, who is now a Secretary of State of one of our whatever departments, this guy is no different from the Liberal councillor who just got arrested for having shouted out through a microphone, not through a microphone. Was it a microphone or was it just a megaphone? I don't know which, I can't remember. He shouted out that he wanted all of these far-right thugs, in other words, all the working class people involved in the protests. He wants them all to have their throats slit and thrown into the sea. Wes Streeting, and others. There are other Labour MPs whose historic tweets have been found, showing the massive amount of utter hate and desire for the ending of people who do not think in the way that they do. They want them unalived in very nasty ways. I think I am at the end of my rant. I am at the end of my justifications, my understanding why Tier Keir must be arrested for incitement to hatred, for coordinating all of this stuff, for treasonous acts against his own people, for claiming that he knows that everybody that's turning up to these anti-immigration protests and whatever reasons they're doing for their protests, showing social injustice and highlighting the social injustice that they have suffered for probably way over a century, if not longer, many centuries in these working class communities. He terms them all far right in order that his idiotic, stupid followers can then claim everybody who is patriotic is far right, fascist, racist, Nazi scum. Understand this. Understand what Britain is up against, and it is all the fault of Tier Keir. I am going to end it there. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. And I will play us out with my usual. And I will say goodbye. And I can't say it on my stream deck because that all died. So that didn't work either. I tell you, I am one of the least professional streamers on YouTube. It's a good job I've only got 7 followers.
Got a lot of shit to say, so I'ma do this every day. I'll be writing things until I'm fucking buried in my grave. 6 feet deep under, but my body won't decay. Cause my messages are timeless, so they'll put them on display. Oh yeah, I rap with a certainty, I have a sense of urgency. A message for eternity, for everyone internally. I had some people burning me, but now they fucking learn to see I ain't the one to fuck with, now they looking nervously. And I don't really care what you think of me respectfully. You can kick rocks if you think you're fucking better, see. I will outwork you, turn you to an enemy. Hurt you so bad that you're gonna need some therapy. I got the motherfucking recipe. I've been cooking up hits, I'ma leave a legacy. You'll be looking small when you're standing right next to me. I'm 5'10", bitch, but I'm 10 feet next to me. I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Cause I don't give a fuck what you say. Yeah, I'ma do shit my way. So you can go kick rocks, I'ma stack bricks up, build what I want to make. Yeah, I'ma do it my way. Yeah, I'ma do it my way.
I shot my wife in the stomach with 38.
Why did you do this?
She enticed me and she ridiculed me throughout my lifetime. I'll see if she's alive. She's alive? She's dead. I think she's dead.
Sensational.